Welcome to Crafted Nest, where simple ideas bloom into extraordinary creations. Imagine turning old tree roots, often left forgotten, into the most beautiful accents of your tiny garden. Here, we don't just talk about DIY, we share real inspirations you can try, tweak, and make your own. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so every warm and creative story finds its way into your day. Sometimes beauty grows from what we once thought was finished. Imagine walking into a small backyard where sunlight touches the earth softly, and there, in the center, stands a table unlike any other. Its foundation is not metal or plastic, but the weathered root of an old tree, shaped by years of wind and soil. Upon its back lies a mosaic surface, made from broken plates that once carried meals and laughter. Together, they create a piece that feels both ancient and new, strong and tender. This project does not ask for perfection. It asks for patience, for noticing what nature already gives. To make it, you only need a root that feels sturdy, cleaned gently so its character remains. The top can be a flat board covered with fragments of old ceramic pressed into simple mortar or cement. Blues, whites, and florals combine like pieces of memory, forming a surface that shimmers in sunlight. What makes this idea special is not just the look, but the story. Every shard holds history. Every curve of the root speaks of time. And yet, in your hands, they find a second life. It is not about buying more, but about seeing what you already have differently. Placed in a garden, this table becomes more than furniture. It is a gathering point, a place for tea, for books, for thoughts at dusk. When friends come, they will ask where you found it. And you can smile, knowing you did not find it, you made it. You gave what was broken a chance to shine again. And in that, your garden becomes not just beautiful, but meaningful. When evening arrives and the garden softens into quiet, light becomes more than utility. It becomes atmosphere. Imagine a twisted root, once hidden beneath soil, now suspended in the air like a piece of sculpture. From its natural bends and knots hang simple bulbs, glowing in amber warmth. The result is not sleek or polished, but something raw, rustic, and deeply alive. Creating this kind of hanging lamp is less about tools and more about vision. The root does not need to be reshaped. It already holds character. A gentle cleaning to remove dust, a bit of sanding if sharp edges remain, and the root is ready to shine. Strong ropes or metal hooks can suspend it safely above a patio or garden table. From there, choose your lights. Vintage-style Edison bulbs, glass jars with soft LEDs, or even small lanterns. Let them hang at different lengths, following the rhythm of the root itself. This piece transforms any outdoor corner into a sanctuary. At night, shadows dance across the walls and plants, while the root glows softly like it remembers the forest it once belonged to. During the day, even without the bulbs lit, it stands as a piece of art, imperfect yet intentional. It is more than lighting. It is a reminder that beauty is already here, waiting to be noticed. With a simple root, a few lights, and a bit of care, your garden can carry the poetry of evening. A place where conversations linger longer, where silence feels golden, and where every night feels touched by nature's hand. In gardens, boundaries often carry a quiet beauty when shaped by hand. Imagine stepping into a small yard where, instead of iron bars or plastic fencing, a row of roots rises from the earth. Some stand straight, others curve with age, their grains etched by years of rain and wind. Together they form a vertical divider, not to close off, but to gently guide. This idea begins simply. Gather roots or weathered branches of different sizes, each with its own character. Place them side by side into the soil, pressing firmly so they stand tall. There is no need for perfection. Let some lean slightly, let their heights vary. That irregular rhythm becomes the charm. Over time, vines may cling to the roots, flowers may bloom at their base, and sunlight will carve moving shadows across them. What makes this divider special is its dual nature. It's separate space, perhaps a pathway from a flower bed, yet it also connects you back to the forest. Every time you walk past, you are reminded that boundaries need not be harsh. They can be soft, organic, alive. Practical too, this project costs almost nothing. A walk in the woods, or even trimming in your own yard, may provide all you need. And as seasons pass, the divider evolves. Rain deepens the color, ivy thickens, birds may perch. It becomes part of your garden's living story, a line written not with bricks or steel, but with patience and intention. In the end, this natural root divider is more than a fence. It is poetry in wood, imperfect, grounded, and quietly resilient, just like the garden it protects. There is a quiet joy in creating spaces for the smallest lives in our garden. Imagine a weathered root, once buried in the soil, now lifted and given a new role. Fixed gently to a fence or patio wall, it stretches outward like an arm, and on its surface sit tiny pots, little homes for succulents, herbs, or flowers. The effect is both humble and enchanting, as though nature itself extended a shelf just for you. To bring this idea to life, all you need is a root with a shape that feels welcoming. Some roots bend like open arms, others carry natural ledges perfect for holding small pots. A light sanding may smooth rough edges, but leave the knots and curves intact. They are the soul of the piece. Secure the root firmly with brackets or strong rope, ensuring it can bear the weight of your chosen pots. Then let your creativity decide. Terracotta for warmth, recycled jars for charm, or hand-painted clay for a personal touch. What makes this root shelf special is how it transforms overlooked corners. A plain wall becomes alive. A narrow balcony feels layered and rich. The succulents thrive in their stillness, their green leaves glowing under morning sun. Each time you water them, you pause, and in that pause, the shelf becomes more than decor. It becomes ritual. This is not just about adding plants. It is about giving found a second life and offering yourself a reminder that beauty often rests in small gestures. With each tiny pot resting on the shelf, your garden gains not only color but character, a story told through roots, leaves, and the patience of your hands. Every garden deserves a beginning that feels like a story. Picture stepping through a gate not made of iron or steel, but of roots that twist like calligraphy written by nature's hand. Their curves form an archway, imperfect yet graceful, and along their edges, fragments of broken plates shimmer like hidden jewels. Passing through feels less like entering a yard and more like walking into a chapter of a tale. This gate is born from what might have been discarded: fallen roots, branches, chipped porcelain. Begin with a simple wooden frame to hold the shape. Then select roots that bend naturally, ones that arc like flowing lines. Fix them gently along the frame, allowing their unique forms to dictate the design. Where gaps appear, let small mosaics fill them. Pieces of blue and white china, colorful floral shards, even smooth glass if you have it. With every placement, the gate grows more alive, more personal. The beauty of this idea is its invitation. To guests, it says, "Here is a space cared for by hand, alive with imagination." To you, it becomes a daily threshold, marking the moment you step from ordinary life into your sanctuary. Over time, ivy may cling to the roots, rain may deepen their color, and sunlight will set the mosaics glowing differently each day. It does not demand precision. It asks for presence. Building a root art gate is less construction, more conversation with materials already full of history. And when it stands at the edge of your garden, it becomes more than a structure. It becomes a poem you walk through, reminding you that even broken pieces and twisted wood can guide us toward beauty. There is a certain charm in giving walls their own stories. Imagine a plain fence or patio wall. usually forgotten, suddenly glowing with life. A frame made not from factory wood but from roots gathered after the rain, their shapes raw and untamed. Around them, fragments of broken plates shimmer in mosaic patterns, each piece reflecting a memory of what it once carried. Together they form a wall frame that is less about decoration and more about storytelling. This project begins with choosing roots that twist naturally into curves and corners. They do not need to match. In fact, their irregularity becomes the beauty. Join them carefully into a frame shape, securing with nails or strong rope. Then comes the mosaic. Old porcelain dishes, colorful ceramic shards, even glass pieces can be pressed into simple grout. Arrange them not with rules, but with instinct. Let blues meet whites, let patterns dance freely. Each shard becomes a brushstroke in a painting shaped by your hands. When mounted on a wall, the frame does more than hang. It transforms space. A once plain fence now feels alive, catching sunlight in the morning, glowing softly at dusk. Plants nearby seem more vibrant, their leaves reflecting the colors of the mosaic. And each time you pass it, the frame whispers of resilience, how broken things can belong again, how roots can hold not just soil but stories. It is practical, too. You need no costly materials, only time and vision. And when complete, this root wall frame becomes a reminder. That beauty is not about perfection or purchase, but about noticing what lies around you. In the fragments, in the roots, in the patience to see potential, that is where art begins. Sometimes the smallest plants deserve the most thoughtful stage. Imagine a weathered root, once hidden underground, now lifted and given new life as a floating shelf. Fixed carefully on a wall, its curves cradle tiny pots of succulents, jade with its thick green leaves, pearls that trail like necklaces, rosettes glowing under morning light. The result is simple, natural, and quietly elegant. This idea requires little more than attention to form. Find a root that stretches outward, one with bends or flat spots where pots may rest. Clean it gently, leaving its knots and texture intact. Secure it against a wall or fence using sturdy brackets or rope, making sure it sits firmly. Then let the pots claim their place. Terracotta adds warmth. Recycled jars bring charm. Painted clay offers a touch of personality. Each pot becomes a character, and together they turn a plain wall into a living display. Succulents thrive here because they ask for so little. They store their strength in silence, glowing in stillness. On this floating root, they feel almost sculptural. Art pieces alive and breathing. The shelf itself becomes more than functional. It becomes a bridge between what was discarded and what continues to grow. Over time, sunlight will deepen the wood's tone, rain may stain it gently, and vines may creep along the wall. Each season adds its mark. And every time you water these tiny plants, you will pause, breathe, and remember, beauty often rests in the small, in the quiet. This floating root succulent holder is not just a shelf. It is a conversation between nature and hands, a story written in wood and leaves, reminding you daily that elegance can be simple, handmade, and real. In quiet evenings, when the garden softens into stillness, light finds new meaning. Imagine a root, twisted and weathered by years beneath the soil, now rising on a table as a sculpture. Its knots and curves cradle candles, some small and delicate, others tall and strong. When lit, the flames dance across the wood, filling the space with warmth that feels timeless. This project is as simple as it is enchanting. Begin with a root that speaks with character, perhaps one with natural hollows or branches that curve like open hands. Clean it gently, brushing away soil, maybe sanding lightly, but leaving the grain visible. Place it on a table or a stone base, then tuck candles where they fit most naturally. Tea lights can nestle in shallow grooves, while pillar candles can rest in sturdier gaps. No carving is necessary. Let the root itself guide the design. The beauty lies in contrast. Fire and wood, flame and root, fragility and strength. By day, the stand looks like rustic art, a centerpiece of natural texture. By night, when the candles glow, it becomes something else entirely, a gathering of light that feels sacred. Practical and poetic, this idea needs little cost, only creativity. The stand can live indoors on a dining table or outdoors in a quiet garden corner where evening air carries the scent of earth and flowers. Each time you light the candles, you pause, and in that pause the root reminds you, beauty need not be bought, it can be found, shaped gently and shared. The root candle stand is more than decoration. It is ritual, memory, and a small flame of nature kept alive. Every garden tells a story in the way we walk through it. Imagine a narrow path leading between flowers and herbs, framed not by bricks or plastic, but by roots. Roots that curve naturally, lying like lines of poetry beside each step. Some carry fragments of mosaic, tiny bursts of color pressed gently into the soil. Together, they turn an ordinary walkway into a quiet celebration of craft and care. Creating root edging is less about tools and more about arrangement. Search for roots of different thicknesses, each with its own rhythm. Some may twist like waves, others lie steady like calm lines. Lay them along the pathway, pressing firmly into soil so they rest with confidence. Where there are gaps, let small ceramic shards or stones fill the spaces, catching light and adding texture. What makes this idea meaningful is how it transforms movement. Each step feels guided, each turn of the path framed by wood that once belonged to the forest. Over time, plants will lean toward the roots, moss may grow between them, and the edges will blend deeper into the earth. It becomes less a project and more a living border, evolving with the seasons. Practical too, this edging helps define beds, keeps soil from washing away, and adds character without cost. It invites you to slow down, notice details, and walk with intention. In the end, a pathway edged with roots is not just about where you're going. It is about honoring what you pass along the way, the flowers blooming, the soil breathing, the roots reminding you that even in stillness, there is direction, there is beauty. There is something timeless about a swing. It carries us back to childhood, to afternoons spent in laughter and stillness. Now imagine that swing not made from factory wood, but from a root shaped by the earth itself. Its curves are natural, its surface smoothed only enough to welcome sitting. Suspended by ropes from a strong branch, it sways gently, blending strength with grace. This project begins with the search for a root that already feels like a seat. Some roots arch into natural curves, others flatten across their base. Choose one that feels sturdy, thick enough to hold weight, and long enough to sit comfortably. Clean it carefully, sanding where needed, but keeping its raw beauty intact. Secure strong ropes or chains through its edges, making sure the knots hold tight. Then hang it from a tree or pergola beam, testing slowly until it swings with balance. The beauty of this root swing lies not only in its look, but in its spirit. To sit upon it is to rest on a piece of history, wood that once belonged underground, now carrying you above the earth. In the quiet of the garden, the swing becomes a pause button. Each back and forth motion invites reflection, slowing time in a world that often runs too fast. Children may play here, their laughter carried by the breeze. Adults may sit in silence, watching the sunset paint the sky. And with every motion, the root reminds us that joy need not be complicated. It can be as simple as wood, rope, and a moment suspended between earth and sky. The root swing seat is not just furniture. It is memory made tangible. Sometimes the simplest changes bring the deepest charm. Imagine a planter, not placed directly on the ground, but lifted gently by the arms of an old root. Its texture, rough and knotted, contrasts beautifully with the smooth surface of terracotta or ceramic. The plant above seems taller, prouder, as though it has been given a stage by nature itself. This idea requires little more than a root with presence. Look for one that has a broad base, stable enough to hold weight without tipping. Its natural hollows may cradle the pot, or its flat surfaces may offer balance. A quick cleaning and perhaps light sanding will highlight the grain, but leave the imperfections. They are what make it alive. Once the planter rests on it, the root becomes more than a base. It becomes a pedestal. What makes this design inspiring is the way it honors both plant and wood. The root, once underground, now rises to support new life. The plant, once hidden among many, now stands elevated where light touches more fully. Together, they create a dialogue of resilience and renewal. Placed in a garden corner, on a patio, or even indoors, this rustic root planter base changes the way we see both objects. Suddenly, a simple pot feels like an artwork, framed by the story of wood shaped by time. And with every glance, you are reminded that beauty does not always come from adding more. Sometimes, it comes from lifting what you already have, giving it space to shine. The rustic root planter base is more than a stand. It is a reminder. Nature already offers us frames. We only need to notice them. There is magic in reflection, especially when framed by the language of nature. Imagine a mirror, not edged in factory-made plastic or polished steel, but embraced by roots. Their curves twist around the glass like hands holding water, each knot and grain telling a story of years beneath the soil. When sunlight falls on it, the mirror reflects not only your face, but the life around, flowers, sky, the quiet rhythm of your garden. This project begins with a root that carries presence. Select pieces that arc naturally, some bending into corners, others curling like waves. Arrange them around the mirror, letting their shapes dictate the design. You may sand lightly, but keep the raw textures intact. Secure the roots with strong adhesive or brackets so the frame feels both organic and sturdy. What emerges is not a perfect square or circle, but something alive, asymmetrical, unique, and deeply personal. Placed in a garden, the mirror extends space, making small yards feel larger, brighter. Indoors, it brings a rustic charm, turning a simple hallway into a corner of story. The reflection becomes more than utility. It is framed by wood that once belonged to the earth, now offering you a glimpse of yourself surrounded by nature's memory. Every time you glance at it, you are reminded that beauty can be shaped from what was once forgotten. A cracked root, a fallen branch, a mirror waiting for meaning. Together they create more than decor. They create a piece that whispers of resilience and renewal, inviting you to see not just your reflection, but the poetry of what surrounds it. The root mirror frame is not only design. It is an embrace of self, of nature, of time. Light has a way of transforming spaces, and when shaped by nature, it carries a deeper magic. Imagine a root, once hidden beneath soil, now suspended above a table like a sculpture. From its curves and knots hang bulbs that glow warmly, casting soft patterns across wood and leaves. It is not only a chandelier, it is a conversation between earth and sky, darkness and light. To create a root chandelier, begin by choosing a root with character. Look for one with arms that stretch outward, strong enough to hold the weight of several lights. Clean it gently, sanding only where necessary. Hang it securely from a ceiling or patio beam with strong chains or hooks. Then let the bulbs bring it to life. Some may rest in glass jars for rustic charm, others may be bare filaments for a vintage glow. Allow them to hang at different lengths, following the natural rhythm of the wood. The effect is remarkable. By day, the chandelier is a piece of art, raw, textured, alive. By night, it becomes a source of warmth, filling the space with intimacy. Guests gather beneath it, conversations linger longer, and even silence feels golden under its glow. What makes this design inspiring is its story. A root that once anchored life underground now illuminates life above. It shows us that even what seems finished can shine again with purpose. The root chandelier art is more than lighting. It is a reminder. Beauty comes not from symmetry or perfection, but from honoring nature's shapes and letting them guide us. Each flicker of light becomes a memory, each knot a verse of poetry written by time. A path is more than a way forward. It is an invitation to journey slowly. Imagine walking through a small garden where each step rests on a stone that tells a story. The surface glitters with mosaic made from broken plates, fragments arranged into swirls, stars, or sunbursts. Around the edges, roots curve gently, framing the stones like natural borders. Each step feels like walking across memory and craft combined. This project begins with simple materials, molds or flat stumps of root, a bit of cement, and shards of ceramic collected over time. Mix the cement, pour it into the mold, and before it sets, press the broken pieces into patterns that speak to you. Blues, whites, florals, or even mismatched colors, there is no wrong arrangement. Around the edges, place roots or thin branches so the stone carries both texture and grounding. When dry, lift and set them into the soil along a path. Over time, the stepping stones blend deeper into the garden. Moss may creep along their sides, sunlight will catch the glossy ceramic, and rain will wash them to a softer glow. Walking here becomes ritual, each stone reminding you that brokenness can be reshaped into beauty, that even roots and shards can find harmony. Practical too, these stones guide the way, keep shoes clean from damp soil, and add artistry without expense. More than decoration, they transform the act of moving through the garden into a mindful pause. The root mosaic stepping stones are not just a path. They are a gallery beneath your feet, a reminder that even the smallest steps can be made beautiful when we choose to see potential in what others might discard. Water has always carried a voice, soft and calming, and when paired with wood it becomes poetry. Imagine a fountain not framed in marble or steel, but in roots. A large weathered root, lifted from the earth, becomes the base. Its curves cradle a clay jug or bamboo spout, guiding water as it trickles gently into a waiting basin. Sunlight catches each drop, making them sparkle like tiny stars in daylight. Around it, ferns sway and moss softens the edges, turning the corner of a yard into a sanctuary. Creating this fountain is simpler than it seems. Start with a root that feels grounded, sturdy, textured, full of presence. Place it firmly near a small pond, bowl, or stone basin. Add a simple pump hidden beneath, allowing water to rise and fall again in a quiet loop. Use the root as both decoration and structure. Its hollows can guide the water. Its branches can support clay pots or bamboo pipes. Over time, moss will settle naturally, blending the fountain deeper into the garden. The beauty of this design lies not only in sound and sight, but in meaning. Roots, once buried and unseen, now hold flowing water, life made visible. It becomes a place where birds pause to drink, where evenings carry the song of moving water, where your own breath slows each time you sit nearby. This rustic root fountain does more than decorate. It creates atmosphere. It transforms small gardens into spaces of calm and reflection. It whispers that beauty is not always about grandeur. Sometimes it is about listening to water, to wood, to time. The root water fountain base is more than a feature. It is a reminder that nature, when reimagined with care, can turn even broken roots into flowing serenity.